Good morning, everybody. This is Kent Davis here in El Cangrejo, Panama, and we've got Mr. Matthew Marks on our broadcast today, our Facebook Live. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Kent. Good morning, everybody.
You're checking in from where?
I'm in San Francisco, right in front. It's just a general part in Panama City here, right by Parque Omar, which is kind of like the central park of Panama City.
Darn right, man. Have you been doing your runs in the morning when you can go out?
Yeah, before this week, I was running every morning, and then this week they put a stop to my good times.
Hopefully, we'll get green lighted again.
I hope so.
Yeah, so once again, everybody, thank you, as always, for joining us. I'm excited to have Matthew Marks on again. I almost said on the show. Sometimes it's starting to feel like a show. So Matthew has been in Panama for over 10 years now. He is an American like myself, and he is a Panama veteran. Matthew has the distinction of covering our largest territory in the company. Matthew is an expert on the city market and the beaches market, and he knows enough to be dangerous on the mountains market. So, yeah, Matthew, the idea today is to give, of course, answer anybody's questions. We love questions. We love to hear where you are all watching from. And in case you are seeing this and it's not live, put your questions in the comments below and we'll answer them. We'll answer them live or afterwards. Either myself or someone always hops on and answers questions after the broadcast. So let's get started to talk about the market a little bit. So, well, first of all, Matthew, we do this every week. So what's new in Panama right now? What's new in general? What are you seeing? Talk to us.
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of movement. We're still under quarantine rules as of Monday, but there's still a lot of movement in the street, and in general, globally, we're seeing a lot of action. People are reaching out to us. I don't know if they're getting stir crazy or they're tired of where they're living right now, but we're seeing a lot of people ready to move down here and accelerating their progress. Where their plans may have been 4 to 5 years, now they're saying this year or next year.
Yeah, I tell you what, I heard the same thing when I was talking to Ted Tennis out of our Petitio office. Ted said, Ken, we are going to have a very busy third quarter. Yeah. I mean, there are people out there just literally clamoring to get out, including people that live in the city that say, you know what, I'm done with it. Or people that maybe live up in the mountains or at the beach that say, you know what, I kind of want to be in a different environment right now, so maybe I will move into the city. So what I like to do every week is give folks just one data point so you can sort of get a temperature. And we had 50, 60, 70, 80, 85 new inquiries this past week. That's spread out across people looking to buy, people looking to sell, and people looking to rent. That's spread out across our entire company, where we handle city, beach, and mountain all the way down to Petitio in the Azuero. Hello, Mr. Johnny Moses from Punta Barco. Thank you for joining us as always. It's always fun to hear where people are checking in from. And if you're just joining us, this is world famous Matthew Marks we're talking about. This last week, inquiries continue. Every single one of my agents are dying to get out. And last week, everybody was on showings. We really took advantage of the 1 week of freedom that we were given, and then it got taken away. Let's see what happens with our Presidente Nito Cortizo. This next week, I haven't seen any reports on what the plan is in terms of if we go back to quarantine by sex and the last number in your cedula or your passport. Let's see. Matthew, have you heard anything about next week yet?
I haven't heard anything about next week, but just to circle back on your data point, the most important data point that I had was during our 1 week last week with just the curfew, I had 3 handshake agreements on apartments. So the market, once it opens up, it's going to move fast. It's going to move real fast, and people that are sleeping are going to miss the bus.
Yeah, I mean, it's, of course, nobody can predict what's going to happen in 6 months or even 3 months once sort of the economic impact really hits us, but man, it could go so many different ways. What we do know is there are people literally ready to go, whether they're living at home and just like, oh my God, I can't stand my parents anymore, I need to rent a place, or where they're like, hey, I'm in the US, I'm just tired of everything that's going on, or whether they're, like we said at the beginning, in the city and looking for just to get out to the beaches area where Johnny Moses is. Or, say, hey, closer to somewhere in the park like Jerry. Thank you for dropping in, Jerry. So yeah, it's and you're not the only one in the company who's submitting offers. Gracias a Dios, our leasing department is slammed. Pedic's negotiating a couple deals, and in the city too. So yeah, things are getting pretty interesting right now. What about the market? I mean, what comments can you give people that really don't have access to the kind of information that we do? How is the market?
I mean, right now the market is pretty slow because of the quarantine. Once we open up, I just think it's going to be flying. And you're seeing a lot of people, a lot of buyers just, shaking trees, seeing what falls out, looking to see what kind of deals they can find. And that's both investors and people that are looking to move down here to Panama. And as far as sellers go, a lot of them are willing to lower their prices, or they want to keep the same asking price as is, but they're listening to all the offers. They're not just hanging up the phone if someone comes in, and they're opening up a conversation. Yeah,
that's it. They're open. I mean, we've got over 400 listings on our website directly with sellers, and everyone's situation is different. Unlike the U.S., a lot of people in Panama, at least our clients, don't have mortgages, which means that they're not up to here with trying to meet mortgage obligations. Although in Panama, the banks have been working with owners, fortunately, on their mortgage payments. But yeah, I mean, that's a factor, right? Is everybody's individual situation. I mean, that Matt's got a scenario. We talk to, I'm talking to my agents all day, every day. He's got a scenario where he's got 2 interested buyers for a penthouse in El Dorado. What's the price per square meter approx on that, Matthew?
I mean, it's just a crazy deal. It's about $800 a square meter right now.
Imagine, you can't build for $800 a meter in Panama. And that is like top floor, city, beach, mountain views in a very good area, right on the top of a hill. So you got breeze. It's massive, a big rooftop patio. It's a cool apartment. People are looking for space. They're looking for home office space. They're looking for outdoor space that they don't necessarily have to share in case we get a second wave. So yeah, I mean, that's what's going on right now. As you can see, I've got a busy house here. So, okay, good. Well, thank you for your market comments, Matthew. And on that subject, I think people appreciate hearing, what are folks buying right now? Like what are buyers asking you for?
Yeah, well, on the investor side, I'm hearing a lot of people asking, is there a renter in house? Or if not, how much can I rent this property out for? They obviously want a quick return on their investment. So what sellers have done is, if they were in the past, maybe not sure if they wanted to rent it out while having their home on the market, they're actively now looking for renters, so that way they can market to the investors that, it's return on your investment from day one.
Yeah, sure. And, if rental prices come down slightly, the value of a contract that has, say, 11 months left on it is very interesting.
Exactly.
So, yeah, no, definitely. And if you guys are just joining us, we've got Matthew Marks here today. Matthew handles city, beach, and mountains. And you guys know we do this every Friday at 11 a.m., almost on the dot, 11 a.m. Panama time. Today we were on straight away. So, Matthew, let's talk beach for a little bit, and let's talk rentals, because some expats, they come down, they've never been to Panama, or they want to get their feet wet. All good. Try before you buy. Of course, we've got rent-to-own scenarios where maybe some developers might be offering either a rental arrangement or just a straight-up purchase arrangement with developer financing. But for folks that even aren't quite ready for that, let's talk rentals for a second. Let's say I want a 2-bedroom apartment, right? Or a 1-bedroom, whatever, and whatever is most popular. And I'm deciding, okay, do I want to be in a place like Avenida Balboa? I'm looking at the water every day, Casco Viejo in the distance. If you're lucky, you see some wildlife out there. But you got a little bit of noise maybe sometimes, depending on which building you're in, a lot more activity versus out at the beach. You've got the Pacific Ocean. You go for swims in the morning, walks in the afternoon, restaurants at your doorstep. You're an hour from the city. What are prices? How do those compare, Matthew? But rental prices, let's say the same, I don't know. Yeah. 1,400 square foot apartment or whatever. Talk through that.
I mean, if you're looking like the U on Avenida Balboa, you're looking around $2,000, $2,300 a month. But if you take a similar unit out by the beaches, by Gorgona, Coronado, you're looking at $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So there's a huge difference.
Wow. Okay. I mean, the U is the top, right? U, and if they're asking 2,300, you can probably close them around 1,950, and that would be one of their larger models, nicely furnished, probably let's call it 160 meters. So 160 meter equivalent out at the beach, nicely furnished, good building. What are a couple good buildings out at the beach that people tend to gravitate towards?
I mean, where I'm seeing a lot of action right now is the Royal Palm building out in Gorgona. Recently completed by Byrne, a developer that you've discussed at length during these weekly meetings or lives, and rents out there are typically around $1,200. I've seen some on a larger unit, an end unit, $1,500, and that's for a 3-bedroom apartment that's right on the sand.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, that's a good comparison because I remember those corner units are, about 150 meters. So
exactly.
There you have it, right? And Royal Palm, that's a sweet building. I mean, you've got a couple different swimming pools, gym. They've got on-site property management for people that are looking to buy. So no, it's a good building. Gorgona is a great area, right next to Coronado. So you've got all your grocery shopping and your, your this and your that, your movie theater when it opens. And how far is that from Panama City, Matthew?
It's about 60 minutes by car. It's a quick shot out of the city.
An easy hour. So cool. Well, good. No, I think people appreciate that data point, especially folks that are not quite sure where they want to be. So, all right. What about deals, man? I mean, there's got to be some deals in this market. Talk to me about your motivated sellers. What's hot this week for you?
Well, I mean, my number one deal right now out in the beaches is actually one that I'm working on with Johnny Moses about out there in Punta Barca Village. It's a large apartment right there, about 200 yards from the beach, and it's going for about $2,000 a square meter. It comes with a renter already in-house, so you'll have about a 7% return on your investment from the day one.
7% net is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that is in a gated community, right?
That's right. Gated community, swimming pool, very safe neighborhood where your kids can play at the park, ride bikes out in the street. And again, you're so close to the water. If you don't feel like going to the pool, you walk the 200 yards and you're on the beach already.
I love it. So it's a neighborhood. You've got all the bells and whistles. And I can tell you, Punta Barca is also quality construction. They've done a really good job out there.
Yeah.
Developers, as we both know, and I think anybody watching this podcast, what is this? A Facebook Live, knows that developers really run the gambit in Panama in terms of just sort of cookie cutter, no amenities, and just poor quality, all the way up to really very nicely done and, thoughtful and built out, all the bells and whistles. So, okay, cool. So that's a hot deal out at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got that listed on our website. That's an investment property. Now, is the tenant scenario such where, are they month to month, or they move out, or they're likely to just stay there the full length of the term?
Yeah, they're likely to stay there the full length. They're locked in right now for, I think the exact amount is 10 months. But then if you're also looking for someone that wants to move out to the beaches, there's another property that we have listed called Gorgona Oceanfront, and they're selling that for about $1,200 per square meter. It's a 100 square meter apartment that's listed for $120,000.
Look at that. I mean, that's a spot you go to on the weekend, right? A little
Exactly.
pied there, 120 grand, put in an offer. Who knows what you can get
Exactly.
it for? But I know that building, and it's a bit of a misnomer, Gorgona Oceanfront. It's not right on the water, but good Lord, you can hear the waves crashing at night and you can see the ocean from your property. It's overlooking a beach club, a private beach club. So that's the only thing separating you and the ocean, right? So, and that building's got some tax exoneration, doesn't it?
It does have tax exoneration. Just a very well kept building. It's got a pool in the courtyard. It's got everything that you'd be looking for, for a weekend property.
Yeah, and it's intimate, right? I mean, it's kind of
Very
a
much so.
boutique building. If I recall, do you remember how many floors that building is?
Yeah, I think it's 4 floors.
4 floors. So 4 residential floors. You've got some parking, you got your pool, and that's
Precisely.
it. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want a bunch of neighbors, that's a good option. Okay, cool. Any other deals you got for us this week?
Those are my top 2 right now. You're still seeing a lot of people coming online. A lot of action out in Punta Chame right now. Also Playa Blanca, surprisingly. So people are starting to list out there, and not just like a Founders Club apartment right at the entrance. We're talking villas that are just you have a rooftop terrace, private rooftop terrace where you can see the ocean. Just unbelievable places.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of those villas and they're awesome. And there's a couple sellers that are willing to make a really nice deal because they've got 2 other beach properties. Maybe they bought it for their kids and their kids ended up moving to London, or decided they just don't have time to go to the beach. Who doesn't have time to go to the beach?
Right. Precisely that. And beyond that, they're not just listening to the offers. They're also, a lot of the sellers are willing to privately finance, where if you put down, a agreed upon amount, and then they'll finance you for 5 years to pay off the rest of the agreed upon sale price.
That's it, man. I mean, people get creative, and Matthew Marks is one of the most creative people in the room. He knows how to put a deal together. So if you're looking to sell or buy, that's your guy.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it's true. You got to be willing to think outside the box in this business. You've got to be willing to just truly understand both sides of the deal. And I think you've done a fantastic job at it. Hey, Mark Gilliland, ladies and gentlemen, from Tucson, Arizona.
All right.
Appreciate you checking in as always, sir. Thank you. And for anybody else that's watching, we love questions. We do this every Friday at 11 a.m. I've got Matthew Marks here, who handles our beaches and mountains division and also does deals in the city. So another question for you. Where do you think is the best place to buy right now?
Wow, that's a great question. I guess it depends on what you're looking for. As an investor, personally, I would prefer the city because it's more of a steady income type deal. It's not seasonal like the beaches can be. But if I'm looking for just a great beachfront property, I'm going to get a deal right now where I'm going to stay or go for the weekends. I'm going out to the beaches. I'm going out to Punta Barco, even Playa Blanca, like I mentioned before.
Yeah, right on. I mean, that's it. As an investor, you're either looking for, well, ideally both, but primarily interested in picking up a smoking deal, which is an appreciation play, or picking up a rental property that's already rented or that can be easily rented at the right number, which is a yield play. So that's kind of the 2 components. So, Nick, thank you. What's going on in Altos del Maria? Matthew, we've got a lot of listings in Altos.
We do.
You had some interest about a month ago, a couple different offers. I think the 2 people ended up either leasing or just sitting tight, right? But what's the story up in the mountains, man?
Yeah, Altos is kind of at a standstill since the start of the quarantine. It's a gated community, and for the safety of the residents, they're not allowing anyone in to the project if you are not currently a resident. So makes it next to impossible to do any showings. But lots of interest, lots of inquiries towards that area. People are just dying to get out there. And the nice thing about Altos is it's in Panama, but you don't have all the humidity and the heat. You got a nice cool breeze coming off the mountain just about all day long. It feels like you're in a different area.
It is, man. It really is. completely different. And, Jennifer, your question about Boquete and comparing Altos del Maria to lead in, Jennifer, Mida, thank you for joining us and for your question. What's available in Boquete? So let's talk apples to apples here. So you've got Altos del Maria and El Valle, which are the two most popular mountain communities in the western provinces. Western being, or no, that's actually it's west to us, but technically the western province is Boquete. So let me start over. Altos and El Valle are the closest mountain communities to Panama City, and they are, let's call it, an hour and a half and 2 hours away, respectively. The cool thing about that is, obviously, you can get back to the Panama City if you need to. That said, Coronado has developed into the kind of place that's got, hospitals, or I should say clinics, shopping, fine dining, casual dining. What else? You've got movie theaters, etc. Boquete, on the other hand, is closer to the Costa Rican border. So from Panama City, it's about a 6.5 hour drive, would you say, Matthew?
Yeah, about 6.5 hours. I've made that drive plenty of times.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, how would you compare Boquete and a place like Altos?
It's been some time since I've been out in Boquete. I know they've done a lot of changes out there.
Yep.
But it's very expat central. You have a lot of American expats that live in that area. It's very cool climates. The regular Panamanians that live in the area usually revolve around either tourism or coffee farms. You have a lot of farms out there in the Chiriquí province. Compared to Altos, you have a lot of retirees that are living out there, but you also have some Panamanian families that spend their weekends and their holidays out in that area.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think that's a good point, Matthew, is much like Coronado, Altos and to an extent El Valle really kind of blow up on the weekends because of how close they are to the city. Now, blow up is relative. They kind of blow up on the on the holidays. On the weekends, they get more busy. So versus Boquete, where it's mostly full-time residents, expats, and foreigners. So, and guys, I love the questions and I love the check-ins. So we're going to get to everybody's questions. So Jennifer, the short answer is we don't handle Boquete, but I got a guy that I'm happy to introduce you to. He's fantastic. Tom Breimer, really straight shooter. What is available in Boquete? The same type of property options that might be available in a place like El Valle, which is, but I would say more property options in Boquete because you've got apartments, you've got gated communities, and of course you have raw land and single family homes versus El Valle, which is mostly raw land and single family homes. I don't know of any apartment complex up there. Same with Altos, no multifamily, all just single family. Average price point for Altos, what do you think? I mean, median, 300, if that, to something.
Yeah, I'd say about 300, 350. It depends on the size of the lot, obviously the size of the home. Typically, your homes are priced around $1,000 a square meter, and then the lot size is where you're going to get a big variance.
That's it, depending on how big the lot is. So, yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to shoot you a private message after this and connect you with Tom. He's fantastic. Ryan, come on down. Look forward to meeting you. Kate, una Panameña, thank you for joining us. People looking into Altos del Maria, most part Panamanians are foreigners. So, I'll answer that first and we'll let Matthew take a stab at it. Our primary market, I mean, obviously we're speaking English right now. We're mostly focused on the English market, although we do get inquiries, quite a few from places like Mexico, Colombia, expats living in Panama who speak primarily Spanish. But in a general sense, we can talk about the people that live in Altos del Maria and the people that are looking to buy. So how would you describe the demographic of owners, Matthew, in Altos in terms of percentage? Let's say there are, 400 completed houses, 500 completed houses in Altos. Of those, let's call it 500. How many do you think are locals versus expats?
Yeah, I mean, within my bubble, I'd say 90% of the owners are expats. And then, for every 3 or 4 expats that I speak to, that's, oh yeah, my neighbor is Panamanian. I only see them on the weekends. So, but I would venture a guess about 90% of the owners there are expats.
Got it. Yep. And as far as people looking, Kate, yeah, I mean, again, we're going to get mostly foreigners, but we definitely see on some of the websites that we advertise, which are geared primarily towards Spanish-speaking folks, that Panamanians are also looking. It depends, right? I mean, as a Panameña, you know that Altos is a gated community. El Valle is a town, right? And some people prefer to live in a town. Some people prefer to live in a gated community where it's a lot quieter. Nick, definitely there are some deals on Altos. Matthew knows, he can private message you. But for lots and for resale homes, we've got a couple of very motivated sellers. It depends on what you're looking for. Jerry, City, thank you. Avenida Balboa, okay. So I was going to say you need to look at the specific building because that depends. So the U has front side and backside units, right? Backside being looking out at the city, smaller 1-bedrooms, which I actually prefer those layouts. Matthew, you show the U Tower a lot. Those 1-bedrooms are nice. I mean, they're spacious. You walk in and it's just like nothing but window. Versus on the front side, tends to be larger apartments. You've got that corner unit. I think it's like 186 meters. So, Jerry, it depends. I hope I'm saying your name right. It depends on the height. It depends on the views. And if you want to add a little bit of color to your question, I'll definitely answer it more specifically. But, to put it in perspective, the developers at one point sold those as high as $3,500 a meter, right? We've done deals between 28 and 3,000 a square meter, closed deal, deed registered, etc. Nowadays, I would say even below that, right? Like I've heard of people getting an I unit for as low as like 430,000, and I think those I units are like 168 meters. So. Now, that was with nothing. That was with no appliances or anything. But that would work out to be, 2,600 a square meter. So, yeah. And then it just depends on the building. I mean, you get into an older building like, some of those really old buildings, like, was it Pacific? I think it's Pacific View or Torre del Pacifico. That's the one, Torres del Pacifico. I mean, you shouldn't be paying even $2,000 a meter for that, right? Because it's an older building, a bigger floor plan. Betsy Aleman, saludos. Madison, Alabama, hot turn. That is south. Fantastic. Thank you for checking in. And Kimberly from Vancouver, nice to see Canada represented here. We love answering questions if you have any. Misha, South Africa, you are in real estate coming to Panama. Of course. Talk business. We love talking business. So Ryan, Nelson, okay, good. Yes, Nelson is on top of it. Betsy, why beachfront lands are sold in large quantities as opposed to small lots more affordable, right? I mean, the lotification process is not that difficult. I think it would make it more bite-sized, although some people aren't as comfortable purchasing in lotified lots and purchasing in lots if there's no PH established. So as a developer, you can either, you've got a big piece of land, and if you want to sell little pieces, you can either sell them off individually or you create a PH, which is a neighborhood regime with rules and dues and how those dues will be spent, described in the, ¿cómo se dice? Los acuerdos, the word is escape, reglamentos. So I mean, I think they would sell more in smaller lots for sure. Some people just like to be one and done, but to be honest, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense developing a lot of these areas right now because we've got oversupply in certain products and certain areas. That said, undersupply in other areas and other types of products, that's for another Facebook Live. Let me keep going to these questions, but keep the questions coming.
Well, to circle back to Betsy, there are certain areas that are selling 1,000 and 2,000 meter lots. In Coronado, we just received a price reduction on one of our lots that is 2,000 square meters.
On the water?
It's one block off of the water. But you have Playa Malibu. I'm in negotiation with a seller that he has 2,000 meter lots side by side, and the buyer who I represent is looking to purchase both lots to build his dream home.
Darn right, right on the water, gated community, an hour
right on the water.
The city. Love it. No, Pedicee too, right? I mean, Matthew doesn't handle that. We've got Ted and Jonathan who handle our Pedicee listings. Hola, David. So yeah, and there all day long, beachfront lots. People did exactly that, Betsy. They purchased large lots back in the day and they lotified them. They established PH regimes or the horizontal property building. What do you call those? Associations. You set up the association regime and then it's off to the races. Gary Moore, saludos vecinos, Cerro Azul. Man, you know, that's a good point. We don't do much business in Cerro Azul. We did at one point, but just I don't have any agents that are willing to drive all the way out there. It's not that far, but we're so busy out at the beach and out in places like Altos, who's the same developer for the most part in Cerro Azul. It's an option, you know, it's out there. And I appreciate you bringing it up because that is definitely out there. Robin Caballero, are the villas at Decameron bouncing back? Not yet. Matthew?
Not yet. There's a lot listed. There was one just sold about 3 weeks ago, sight unseen to a buyer out in Afghanistan, actually. And he bought it for way below market value, around $300,000.
That's it. I mean, you know, there are quite a few of those villas are for sale. Robin, we can help you if you're a seller. Well, we can also help you assess the market. But yeah, Decameron is a great area. You know, it's a gated community. It's right next to an all-inclusive resort, nice long stretches of beach, and you got the golf. Okay, so Mark Gilliland, yes, that Grand Bay condo, man, we've got a handshake deal. They're going to terms. They're reviewing the contract now, but it's still for sale.
That's right.
Make an offer. And that is what? That's 100 meters exactly?
It's 96 square meters, so almost 100. And yeah, we're in, you know, just going over the paperwork right now.
There it is. Cool. Betsy, anotado. You will be hearing from Matthew for sure. And guys, if you are just now joining us, we do this every week. And next week, actually, we're going to flip the script a little bit, and we're going to do a segment specifically about fishing. We're going to take it away from real estate and put it back into lifestyle. We'll be getting Ted Tennis from our Pedicee office on. Alex, best buildings on Avenue Balboa or Punta Pacifica for an investor looking for a decent yield and appreciation. Okay, so how do you identify a good building? Quality of construction, because you're not going to be putting a lot of money into it later. So, you know, I can tell you a few buildings that aren't that great. I'd rather not say them here because I don't want to be despairing, but those kind of buildings, you'll just get nickel and dime. You'll get an assessment for, say, $5,000 to completely redo the social area because it wasn't done properly 8 years ago. So you have that to deal with. I would say you also, Alex, without getting into specific buildings, I'm happy to do that. Just, you know, I'll have Matthew send you, well, Matthew will send you a WhatsApp or a chat on Facebook. But what else do you want to be considerate of? Buildings that are almost exclusively renters. Trump building, for example. Those rents come down very, very quickly. And because everybody's competing against themselves, and you've got a tenant who, say, wants to pay, he calls you on your $1,700 a month listing, presents an offer for $1,500, retracts it because he just got another owner saying, oh, I'll do it for $1,200. And then he goes and presents that $1,200 offer to two more owners who are happy to take $1,100. And that happens. Versus a building, for example, like Allure, where you don't have that many different owners. Frank Davis, say hello to the internet. Hi. Okay, largate. Excuse me. Working from home. So Allure, for example, you don't have that many tenants. So you don't have that much, how can you say, competition, right? So yeah, decent yield is tricky right now, Alex. A decent yield prior to this would have been, say, 4.5 net, maybe 5. Now, I mean, gosh, we've been closed for the last 3 months, or at least the market itself has been somewhat frozen. So we don't know where rents are going. Now, everybody's busy right now. We've got a lot of people who want to see property, but that's because of 3 months of pent up demand. What do 3 months later look like? I think we might see the scenario of tenants talking to their owners saying, look, I just lost my job, or my business just got cut in half. So, the rents could come down in existing properties, which as a part of the full market will bring rents down across the board versus, people like, let's see, Ryan coming down here. Maybe he wants to rent something because he's ready to get the heck out of wherever he is living, which means that you've also got some pent up rental demand that can't even fly down here, which might keep the market where it is. It's just so hard to say. We love trying to throw out predictions, but in this market, not even going to try. So you've got yield. Then you've got appreciation, which is like, hey, you got to kiss a lot of frogs. Whether that's submitting multiple offers. We've done that with buyers before all day long. Find stress. Don't forget the 3 Ds in real estate: death, divorce, and distress. That's where deals come from, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a long answer. Ruben, schools. Matthew, talk to us about schools out at the beach.
I hear that quite often, and out in Coronado, there's the International Private School of Coronado. You have a lot of folks that send their children to those schools. People usually want to be close to that specific school, that general area, so they want to be within 10, 15 minutes of that area. So that's why we really focus on Punta Barco, Gorgona, Coronados, obviously, and Via Mar, Vista Mar. Something that's within 10 minutes, so the children aren't spending too much time traveling.
Yeah, exactly. Even Buenaventura, I think, has got some academies out that way. So yeah, no, you definitely have school options, Ruben. Thank you. Kate, okay, so oversupply, houses, beach area, yes. Investing on hotels. I mean, man, like these last few weeks, I haven't gotten many inquiries on my hotels. But we've got 4 or 5 hotels for sale in Casco, El Cangrejo, and Bella Vista. And in the beginning of the coronavirus, I mean, I've got probably 6 people actively looking for hotels right now that are just waiting to be able to thoroughly vet in person what they've already vetted on paper. So the government is going to be putting a lot of money into tourism. We've got a lot of tourist infrastructure that's getting ready to come online that drives tourists, like the convention center, ready to go, like the kind of sounded like Trump right there, didn't it? Ready to go. We've got the help me, what's out at the Causeway? Also the cruise ship terminal cranking, and they're talking about getting public infrastructure construction going again next week, I read this morning. So I mean, that thing is probably 3 months away. And yeah, okay, cruises, all right, coronavirus, sure. I got no problem. I get a good deal on a cruise. I got internet. I'll take a week off. I mean, I don't need a vacation right now, but you get it. So Kate, investing on hotels, there's been inquiries. There are hotels for sale. And based on what the government is talking about doing, and based on what is getting ready to come online in terms of infrastructure that pulls in tourists, I think we're going to see a major recovery as soon as tourism itself and the flight industry, the travel industry sort of just regains its footing and people understand what the new realities are on traveling. Darren, villas at Playa now still available? Yes, talk to us. I will make sure that either Ted or Jonathan reaches out. Airbnb all day long. You can't do an Airbnb in the city unless it's got a condo hotel regime already approved, but the beaches area for sure. And Airbnb does not go away. Like locals Airbnb all the time. When can Americans fly into Panama? Golly, the 22nd as of today. The 22nd. Aiden Jaime Brassfield. Yes, welcome to the conversation. So yeah, Nick, to answer your question, everybody can fly in on the 22nd unless they change, right? Like that's been pushed back once or twice already. Hopefully it doesn't get pushed back again. We have friends who wants to transition to Panama. Any insight on major corporations moving to Panama? Well, yeah, we've got a travel company out of Cancun bringing 65 employees. They've given us the mandate to help them find rental properties. They're going to be relocating around the Costa del Este area. Betsy, private message me if your friends are looking for employment or if you'd like some other insight, happy to share that. But yeah, no, people are not scared. Troy Wilkinson. Market for opportunities in the city beach for fixer-uppers and flipping. Ooh, buddy, always, always. And if anybody can do it, it's you. Troy Wilkinson is a craftsman. He is a master woodworker and handyman extraordinaire. So, guys, if you're watching this now looking for someone that can help you remodel, Troy's the guy. He's done it. So, yeah, there are bargains. Like I said earlier, you just got to kiss a lot of frogs sometimes. Matthew, I'm doing all the talking. What did I miss?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I like Troy's question about the fixer-uppers. There's quite a few deals out there where people just, like you said, that one of the 3Ds, the death and divorce. People lost interest in the home and they just ready to cut ties, and you can get some amazing deals that way.
Darn right. Well, you got any deals right now, fixer-uppers?
Specifically in the city, there's quite a handful. My number one, I always go back to the Vitro. Before we had the renter in there, it was a place that basically could have been stolen. But then once Corona hit, once we had the pandemic, we got a renter in there. So we did a quickly fixed it up. And now the value has gone up.
Yeah, that's it, man. There is value because it can be hard to get work done. Getting your tradesmen in, finding the materials, and just executing to a high standard. So there's margin. There's margin there. The challenge always with fix and flippers, Troy, is the cost, right? Yep. If you're able to tie up a property, because when you sell, what nobody tells you, when you buy, the seller pretty much pays everything. You just pay for the deed registration and your attorney, which will be max like 1.25%, right? Versus when you sell, your costs can be as high as 11%. You've got taxes, commission, and legal fees, right? So yeah, even 11.5%. So you've got to really be able to steal a place. And what you can do is, if you use the same agency, you beat them up a little bit on commission, right? And everything's negotiable. You beat them up, and if you can really structure it well, you tie the property up and you say, Mr. Seller, I will give you 50% down now and 50% in 6 months. And then you get in, but I need access to the property and I'm going to be reselling it, right? You make it very transparent. You make that contract bulletproof so that you don't have to pay the transfer and capital gains, which are your sales taxes, twice if you can tie it up. And you don't have to pay commission twice either, because, hey, if I'm going to sell it for you and I'm getting it on the buy side too, then let's work out a deal, right? So yeah, I would say that Dos Mares could also be a fix and flipper, Matthew, yep, right?
Absolutely.
It will work, but not too much. Misha, the man-made beach, they haven't canceled it yet. It's going to be amazing. If it goes through, it's game on, full game on for Panama. But I think it's going to resist. It's going to meet some more resistance based on all the money that has been spent. Now, that is a municipality project. And all of these COVID, building new hospitals, education campaigns, mobility, and health-related resources that have been reallocated, I don't know how much of the city's money has been spent on that. So if it goes through, then buy everything you can on Balboa Avenue. And it hasn't been canceled yet. Okay, so Ruben, can you find fire sales in the city, or is this a misconception? Is the mortgage protection given by the government presenting fire sales? So what do you think, Matthew?
I definitely think you could find some fire sales. We started off this whole video about talking about the sellers are now saying, I may not want to lower my price, but I'm listening to all offers. A deal that I'm working on now, the seller took an offer that was 20% lower than what he was asking. So it's just a matter of presenting an offer to the seller, even if you're afraid you're going to insult them, get the conversation started. And then as far as mortgage protection, I've seen a little bit of I say a speed bump with people working with some of the banks because they're working reduced hours. So it just takes a little longer to get things done, but things are still getting done.
Yeah, absolutely. Mortgages are still also getting approved as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm more concerned about the flip side sale market possibilities. That's it, man. I mean, Troy, that's what you want to be concerned about is you don't want to buy a property, fix it up, and then you can't realize your profit, right? So yeah, I mean, you just have to be really, really careful and buy so below value that you know that you'll be able to sell it very easily.
That would be the Dos Mares project.
It's
a penthouse that's already priced below market value. You put a couple bucks into it and fix it up, and you're gonna make a real good return on that.
Well, that's the thing, because that particular property, everybody comes in and they're like, I don't like the kitchen. So either you want to fix it up. If you know what it's like living in Panama, you generally don't want to take on a kitchen fix remodel project because it's a pain. Yep. But that is what's keeping that property from being sold. That and all the outdoor space, I think, which is great if you use it. But otherwise, it's kind of like, I don't need the space. So that's the other reason for the $800 per square meter is some of that is outdoor spaces as well. All right, so 45 minutes. Golly, we could talk for hours, couldn't we? Guys, we do this every Friday, so please join us. Thank you so much for your questions. I think we're going to sign off here unless you have any more questions. We always love to hear where people are checking in from too. So if you don't mind, if you're watching right now, say, hey, checking in from, Antarctica or wherever. Buildings allowing showings right now. How's that working? Some of them are, some of them aren't. Yeah, Ruben. So it's a case-by-case basis. For the most part, they're not. But what I just learned yesterday from our leasing department is property administrators can get a 24-hour salvoconducto for clients who need to move. I had no idea. Good job, leasing department, for being on top of that, recent change. So yeah, that's doable. Jersey in the house. Okay, fantastic, guys. Go ahead, Matt.
Real quick to circle back with that salvoconducto. A lot of people are actually using that to get out to the beaches right now. If they have a rental contract, they can get through the checkpoints. So they fall into that 24-hour salvoconducto.
There you go. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I've done that drive. I had to do it to check out a farmland project that we're going to be launching this next week. So we'll do a Facebook Live on just that. If you're not on our mailing list, get on it. Go to panamaequity.com because I've got actually some huge, totally should have mentioned this, huge news coming up next week about what I would say is by far the most interesting non-residential project I've seen in the last 5 years. Non-residential. So, and it's farmland. So get on our mailing list. WhatsApp me, direct message me, talk to Matthew. He knows about it too. We're launching it next Monday to 20,000 people on our database. So yeah, we're excited and looking forward to supporting you guys however we can. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great afternoon. Matthew, thank you. This was fun. Have a great day. Ciao.
Ciao.